Hello everyone and welcome back to Georgia Paper Crafts. Today I am working on cards that I made using the alcohol lift technique and an ink pad from Tim Holtz and Ranger. Here I have already created a bunch of alcohol ink backgrounds. I'm not going to show you me creating those as these were made probably several months prior to me even making this video, and that's not what I'm focusing on in this video. However, I am focusing on the alcohol lift ink and the technique of doing it. So you can see here I've put my alcohol piece into my Misty, and I'm using the Simon Says stamp Beautiful Flowers, and the ink that I have removed using the alcohol lift ink I'm putting onto a piece of white color cardstock so that I don't waste all of that ink that I've just removed off of the alcohol inked background. So I am going to do this several times. You'll see me do this repeatedly here using the same stamp. And pretty much I try to clean it off in between each time I'm using it. However, I do see that I've forgotten to do that in a couple cases, but it's turned out okay. A lot of times what I do is after I initially stamp it, I try to lightly rub off some of the ink off onto the alcohol ink piece, and then I can kind of see the image there and decide if that's enough for my liking. Then I'll put in the piece of the white cardstock and I'll stamp it down, and that ink that I had lifted off of the inked background off the alcohol ink background will transfer to that. So here we go again, another one. I believe they recommend pouncing initially, and then you can rub the project, and that's supposed to help it come off a little bit better. It seemed like the darker ones definitely came off better. I love the second generation imaging here, the one that you get from just removing the ink. To me, it's just as lovely and can make just as pretty of a card as the one that we stamped onto the alcohol ink background. So as I continue here, just making a bunch of backgrounds, lifting the alcohol ink and then putting it back down onto a piece of white cardstock, what you'll start to see is that I'm going to be able to have several images, background images to work with. And this essentially works with any color background. One thing you do have to do is, of course, let it dry completely before attempting this. Again, these pieces were made just while I was playing around several months ago, so they've been sitting around for a while. But I would say letting them sit and dry for at least 24 hours before you begin this technique. And again, wiping your stamp off in between uses would help from keeping the colors from blending together. Here's a quick look at all of the ones that I just did. These are the alcohol inked backgrounds. And then I'm going to show you oh, I didn't show you. Okay, so we'll show that later, the second generation ones. What I'm going to show you here is that I am cutting each piece down to slightly smaller than a A2 size card base. Then I am using the Simon Says stamp wafer dies. Now this is the set that came out prior to their recent set, but this cuts out not only the inner piece, but cuts out this small little frame on the inside. So what I have done is, out of each piece of the card stock that I've done, I have used either glitter cardstock or metallic cardstock to cut out that small little frame to use to frame up the image. And I'm going to show you here how I put it together. So I'm going to put the frame, the initial frame of the alcohol inked piece here down. And I'm sorry this is out of frame a little bit here. Then I'm going to put this tiny little frame here. This is made out of, I cut that out of some metallic cardstock. I'm going to inlay it. Now I have a little trouble. These inlay or these small little frame dies, excuse me, are so small and dainty that sometimes it's hard to get it to lay right in there. Like I say, you'll see me switch from glue to just some regular adhesive, tape adhesive. So I don't know what to say was better or not, but the glue did give me a little bit of time to work it out. Now once I get that in place, I'll inlay the inner piece and make sure it's lined up well. And that will be that for that one. Now when I'm doing a multitude of cards, I like to do it in stages, and I know you've heard a lot of people talk about doing it like that. So you saw me do all of my ink lifting first, and then I moved on to the die cutting. So I did all of that. I decided which colors I would use for the frames, which colors I would use, you know, for my card bases. And of course, these are all off-white card bases that I made out of some heavyweight cardstock from my stash. But I do it all at the same time so that everything is just kind of one thing after another and I don't go back and forth. So I cut it all out and then I can go on to adhering everything. So as you can see, I've got my pile of everything that goes together up to the upper right hand side, and that way I can just move from one piece to the next. Just kind of doing all the same thing, just laying the outer frame down first, then I put the inner tiny thin frame inside, and then I adhere the inner piece. Now, you could pop up the middle inner piece here. That would look nice too. I just chose to keep it simple and to adhere everything down flat. So you're going to see me do more of these here, and here is where I decided, okay, let me try and move on to some tape adhesive and see if this might be easier. So I'm going to go ahead and lay down my frame, do my inner piece. Again, all my inner pieces are made either from a glitter cardstock or from a metallic cardstock, and most of the metallic cardstocks are from the Tim Holtz metallic cardstock pack. And my glitter cardstock, most of them are from the Simon Says Stamp glitter packs. And this one worked out okay, except for I do believe, and it's hard to see right there, but you might see it in just a minute, I could have a hard time getting it straight on the bottom. Yep, see how it kind of buckled right up in there? So I struggled a little bit with that. And sometimes I also noticed that that there was a little bit of the card base that would show through on the edges. Like it wouldn't fit exactly right. Not sure why that was, but most of the time I could make it work. So just going through the process of doing all of this. Here's some of that glitter cardstock. Trying to use my piercing tool here to try and help me get it straight and flat along the edges. Sometimes it would adhere, sometimes it wouldn't. I tell you, like here I'd already put down some tape adhesive, but then I needed to put a little bit of glue adhesive right there to get it to stick. Again, I make sure it's all lined up with the image so the image is continuous. this one I didn't like how it went down, so I'm pulling it up very gently and trying to get it lined up a little bit better. And if I had any overhang on the edges, I would just cut those off. Make the card a little bit smaller, but that's fine with me, just as long as I cut off any excess pieces. I'm going to continue on here. I think I made a total of 7 of these ink alcohol ink cards, all in the same format here. And then I was able to make, I think, at least 7 more of the second generation cards. So I was able to make quite a few cards with just one technique, which was excellent. If you like to make cards in bulk and you're able to have time to do that, that's great. I've already given away a bunch of these. That's why I don't have a lot of still photos of these, as I've already used some of them prior to me deciding that I wanted to make a video out of this. I had recorded it, but wasn't sure I wanted to make it into a video. I'm going to speed the process up just a little bit here, as everything continues to be the same. Don't we wish we could all work this fast and efficient? Wouldn't that be great? This is sped up, I think, 8 times. I really love this purple one. I think that turned out really, really well. Now, to make sentiments for all of these, I decided to pull out some black cardstock and was going to heat emboss. I'm going to heat emboss a bunch of sentiments, not only from the Beautiful Flowers card set, but also from the Sketch Flowers card set, both from Simon Says Stamp. So I did all of the heat embossing off camera here. I embossed some in white embossing ink and also some in the Ranger Platinum embossing ink. You'll see a little bit of both here. And then I cut them all out, hand cut them all out, hand trimmed them all out after they were heat set and ready to go, so that I'd have them ready to put on the cards. I didn't show any of that being done on the video. And actually, I already put them on the cards. This one here is the Happy Birthday. That's from the Beautiful Flowers set. And I'm adhering jewels to all of these. I'm going to adhere different colored jewels from my set. I have a bunch of jewels off to the side. You can see those. I don't have a lot of names for these because this was before I started making videos and knew that I needed to really have the names of them. So I'm just using different colors that I think go well. Now the sentiments vary from anything from thinking of you to sending hugs to happy birthday. I believe that any sentiment would work for any occasion with these cards. They're beautiful and would be great for, like I say, giving on any occasion, honestly. So whatever sentiment you wanted to add would be appropriate here. And when you make several cards in an assembly style fashion, it doesn't seem like it's so laborious. You know, it turns out really good, and it makes you feel accomplished because you've been able to make several cards and you have more to put in your stash for use later on, or at least that's how I feel about it. So here's a final look at all of the cards I made using the alcohol ink lift technique, and there's 7 of them. And here are just some still, not some still, but some slow motion pictures here to kind of show you some of the ones up close. Now I want to move on to the second generation stamping ones. I want to show you how I made cards out of these. Again, I took the same Simon Says stamp delicate frames dies, and I cut the outer portion here with a scallop edge. I'm adhering that onto a A2 size card base. Then I'm going to take some fun foam. This is fun foam here, and I took it just in a matching color with the color of the inking. And I cut it slightly smaller than the piece. And I am going to go ahead and adhere this straight down onto the card base. So it's popped up here, making sure that, of course, it is congruent as far as the image. I'm going to use the sentiment. This sentiment is from the Simon Says stamp sentiment strips, and I have foiled them as they are foilable because they are made using toner ink. This one says, sending love and hugs, and huge hugs, sorry, sending love and huge hugs. Again, I'm adding more gems just to give it a little bit of bling here. Now I didn't show the process of me putting these all together because again it was the same. So here is a final look at all of the cards I made with the second generation stamping. This time I was only able to make 6. I thought I made 7, but it was actually 6. So I made 7 of the alcohol inked ones, and this one was the second generation alcohol ink stamping, which were 6. So I made 13 total cards, and I think they all turned out very lovely. You'll be able to use these for any occasion. I hope I've given you some inspiration today, and I appreciate you stopping by and watching my video. Look forward to you joining me again for another video from Georgia Paper Crafts. Take care.